We're going to begin, and we're going to be talking about booth design, presenting products for their value. I am Meredith Scott, and I am the director of the Oklahoma Local Ag Collaborative, and this is Carrie. And she is the NRCS State Public Affairs Specialist, and she's the former owner of Looney Farm. And so this is us in front of her booth a couple Halloweens ago.
24 karat gold.
Yes.
And I would play that song on repeat.
Yes.
I don't have my bling glasses
I was
on.
just a regular carrot. And my daughter was a flower, because you need flowers all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a little bit more about Carrie and her husband, Joe. They had a wonderful farm. I was really sad to see her hang up the hat, but she turned this farm and, built it from nothing. And there's a kind of a picture of all of her tunnels. She can explain more. You were really producing.
Yeah, so this is actually not even our last season. At the very top, we ended up opening up a plot up there. So on grounds here, we were at 3/4 of an acre of production space. And then our last season, we rented a local place down the corner and probably had maybe another 1/4 acre of onions and things like that. But our last 2 seasons, we did 6 figures off 1/2 acre in sales and revenue. So you can push a lot of edge off a small space.
Yes. And so one of the things that is important to think about, of course, growing it is really important. You got to learn how to grow it before you can sell it. But we wanted to talk a bit more about the power of visual. And so as we both have visited a lot of farmers markets, a lot of CSAs, a lot of different people selling their product, and how it's presented dictates its value, and it also really impacts if it's going to sell or not. And so I was trying to find all the different articles, and there's like tons of them. Pretty much all of them say that majority of your decision to buy something is visual. And so looking at that, you have to present appropriately. And I always hate it whenever I go to a farmer's market and I see no tablecloth and just tomatoes sitting on a table that looks kind of like it's been around a lot. And so really trying to make sure your product is presented in the way it's worth. And then also even like how you're presented, wearing your farm shirt, having an apron on, looking the part of a farmer is important. Making sure there's proper signage, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And making sure your product is as pretty as other booths. So, you're competing in a way. Not fully competing, but the people are selling. If there's a beef farmer next to you, even if you sell vegetables, and they have a pretty tablecloth and pictures of their farm and different things like that, and you have no tablecloth, and that makes you look bad. And so you need to make sure you look like your neighbors.
Just on what she's saying too about presenting yourself, we didn't have chairs at our market. We were kind of ruthless. If you have something, you need to be sitting on a bench or something that's tall enough so that you're not sitting behind your stuff and be visible and be interacting. Even if it's just making eye contact with the people walking by, it makes a huge difference.
And so this is your picture here. This is Cassie's picture from Muskogee Farmers Market. But product signage is extremely important. Products without posted prices do not sell. People don't want to have to ask what the price is. They also don't want to do math. And so make it clear, put it in bunches, put it already together so that it's easy for them to look at it. No, okay, that's $5. Okay, here's $5. So pricing is really important. And then also, you want to make sure they know what they're saying. So put the right name on it so that whenever they say, oh, I would like some of those tomatoes, and you're like, those are radishes, help them out. And so, or even tell them, and also tell them what cool thing it is. It's a Cherokee purple tomato or different things like that. So make sure you have that. Also, some of the best farms, I think, have little booklets or pictures if someone asks about the farm, or they have an Instagram, follow my Instagram, tell the story of your farm, making sure they know how it was grown, where it was grown. how to make it last longer, and then also recipe cards to help give people clues. And if you want recipe cards, we have lots of recipe cards. I'll give you recipe cards, all the recipe cards you want.
We had a link, a QR code, or I think, and we also had a hand booklet so people could take pictures with recipes using, and that helps to cross promote too. Like we had a spice person across the way, and people, if there's a vegetable they weren't familiar with how to use, I'd be like, go get some of her oaky rub and put it on this, so that I'm promoting another vendor at the market, which then she wants to send people to me because they're selling stuff. So it works both ways.
I'll let you go to this one.
Okay, so pre-packaging, we were really big. So this is probably our second iteration of what our stall looked like. We were at the indoor OSU OKC, and then the public market in Oklahoma City. So we were able to leave stands there all the time. So we didn't have to move these. We have a newer version that we did have to move that we designed specifically to go in our trailer with our totes of veggies. But in what she said about making math easy, visually, what people are used to, like I hate plastic, I don't want to use plastic. These were all recyclable plastic products, but I also want to meet our customers where they're at. And a lot of these farmers markets, people are coming out, and especially if they don't know what the product is, lettuce mix in a clamshell like they're used to getting at the grocery store, that's familiar to them. They know that they can contain it in there. They don't have to do anything to it, like the head lettuce, which still, we sold a lot of head lettuce because it was pretty and yummy. But we took the thinking out of it. There was no math. We never had a scale. I think we tried that one year. We weighed everything out. Everything was packaged by the bag. The benefit to that versus doing by the pound is certain times of the year, if supply was low or we're having pest issues, we could adjust the size of the bag without adjusting the price of the package. So we were controlling our pricing. And the customer had, it's not like we were going to go from like a half pound down to like a tenth of a pound. It was just we have to make micro adjustments, and we weren't guaranteeing it was a certain weight. It was just this much food is $5. And sometimes that was a little lower if we needed, we didn't have the supply or whatever. It just made things easier. It made things look more friendly. It's easy to just grab a bag. The squash isn't rolling all over. They can pick it up. These little crates are great. I was telling Meredith, we used to use stuff like that at the beginning, but we would actually like weigh out or portion out the beans or whatever we were putting in there in a little plastic bag, and we'd have a whole bunch of those behind us, the table, and then we would just drop a new plastic bag, kind of roll down so that we didn't have to worry about dumping the crate each time. They could just pick up a new one and we could replace that in the crates.
And you could keep the crate.
You could keep the crates and they look really cute because they're not free. So. Spring. So. Who is that? This was like our very first year. This is when we were at the Ardmore market, right? Mm-hmm. We were there for a few weeks until we realized, why are we driving an hour and a half south when everybody we know is an hour north of us? So we switched. But we did a lot of spraying our first year. We got really good, though, in later years. You want to keep things fresh. We always kept a water bottle. Even when we did scissor tail, we would have a cooler on the really, really hot days in 2021 and 2022 with ice water in it, and we would kind of mist things off. There were other vendors that had misters set up. You can get those. You can get like the 5-gallon bucket that you can hook the misting fan to for your stand for like $20, I think, at Home Depot or Lowe's or something. But when you work hard to make those beautiful radish bunches and those turnip bunches and those greens, it helps the greens to spray them, keep them moist. And it makes those colors pop on those carrots and those reds when they're wet and moist. And we actually would too, what you can't probably see is inside each of these and underneath, we had pieces of burlap that we would dunk in the cold water before we put it in the baskets or the crates, because that provided that we could spray that, and that moisture, that evaporative cooling would help keep them fresh. And we would, our boxes and our lettuces and stuff would last all market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with no problems.
Staying pretty. Mm-hmm. If you didn't sell out.
If we didn't sell out.
I was going through all my pictures of her iterations of her booth, and there were a couple of market times there was nothing at the table.
No, it was gone.
Okay. Baskets give character to your table, and they give that, there's a feeling people want when they go shopping at a farmer's market, and baskets give that feeling. It's that organic, even if it is the plastic inside the basket, but having that in there really helps that feeling. And so I suggest using all different baskets. I love getting baskets like well, some of these are from the dollar store. You can also, I mean, even thrift stores. There's always lots of baskets around. People are always giving away baskets. So they're kind of expensive if you try to go to, like, oh, this is a handmade one from this one artist. That's one way to go, but I like to just get wherever I can go. And then keep them full. This is important. Nobody wants to see like almost you're out and they're like, oh, I don't want to get that because that means I'm going to get the scraps. This is what was left over. So, but keeping it in small containers makes it look more like, oh, this was purposefully put here. I'm not getting the last pick. I actually have I'm getting just as good a product as at 8 a.m. And then, like talked about plastic liners to keep it nice. And then try to make everything, again, people like symmetrical and even like depth levels. Try to keep everything kind of balanced. I mean, I love Cassie's booth because it's very like visually, like you look at it and it's just, I mean, there's different products throughout it, but you have a clear distribution of product, like and layers. So that as it goes in, you know, moving it all in rather than just having, okay, there's some stuff here and now it's all empty here and then there's some stuff here. So trying to just keep it as it sells, go inward or just spread it out. And then tilting baskets, it's so easy.
These are not ideal for this, and I would definitely in Oklahoma wind have some kind of bracing system because I have had my entire, we got those little crates like at Home Depot or Lowe's, like, you know, the wooden, and I had them completely blow over. So, but yeah, I mean, people are visual. People don't walk around, well, unless if they have their phone, but they're not walking around looking down at the table. So if they're walking by your stand and everything is facing outward, or at least at an angle where they can see that color and that visual, they're going to see that from 20, 30 feet away, and that's going to draw them into your booth versus just a mishmash on the table.
And just more pretty baskets. I love baskets. Okay. This is kind of what she was talking about. Height, like she was saying. This is like a proven thing. I mean, there's a reason why the name brand products are eye level at a grocery store. Same thing, you know, when you're at a farmer's market night, and this is really frustrating because most farmer's markets don't do this. But trying to create height in that, like there is stuff at eye level. And so here's two examples. One is of her beautiful booth, and if you want to talk about that one, and the other one was this one was really simple. I saw the guy set this up. He already had it in the crate, and he just turned the crate and set it, and then was putting the radishes and stuff out. But this is just crates stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, so my husband is a little bit of an over-engineer. So this is the same stands that you saw in the other picture on the left. These were not on casters. The new one, I don't know if you have them on, but below we can put our totes.
I don't know.
No, that's not it either. Oh. That's okay. It's okay. We actually had sets that were on casters that rolled, and they were specifically designed so like our clamshells, you could
that
put
one is it.
That one. There you go. So we had each market. We had how many of those? 4? No.
You had a lot.
We had 4 of those, and they were specifically designed. They fit in our trailer that we had, our 16-foot trailer. Plus, we could put our totes alongside. But like these were to prevent it from knocking over. These areas here, we had slats so we could cut them in half. So we could, if we didn't have a large amount of something, we could put 2 different kinds, but they would also still hold our clamshells perfectly. We had shelves that he built braces that we could put them on. So if we had stuff at the front lower level, we could put like our seedlings that we sold. And those were all on casters. My truck was parked right over here and I would just wheel them in. And then he built like again, over-engineered, had a power hub to plug in. We had a drawer for everything. But everything was right in people's face. There was nothing flat down anywhere because people could walk in the market and immediately they would see our stuff. So, signage, your location, your name, branding was huge for us. I didn't say anything when she said Looney Farm, but we were the Looney Farm. We had a logo. It went on everything we sold. It was consistent. It was on packaging. It was on price tags. It was on our shirts and hats. Social media was huge, getting the word out. Every week we posted what we were having at market, so people, the day before, so people knew what to expect when they got there. We did online sales as well. We had both a membership, like a free choice CSA where they paid a membership and they could choose, they buy off of that dollar amount throughout the season, and then open to the general public as well. So let people know how to find you on social media. You don't have to post a lot, but people want to know your story, and they're willing to pay more money. And once they get the stuff, like that's like our lettuce mix. People are like, you charge $16 for a pound of lettuce mix? When they first tried it,
forever.
3 weeks later, that lettuce mix, if you hadn't eaten it, was still good in your fridge. So yeah, you're not throwing it away. But getting people to hear your story of why, why the prices are that way, and the time and the energy of being a regenerative farm, and the work that goes into growing the stuff, and how you come to a booth and my beets have been washed and they're beautiful, and the ugly yellow leaves have been pulled off, and they're, like the lettuce mix is essentially ready to eat. The head lettuces look great. They're not covered in dirt. They're not covered in bugs. There's not wormholes and the different things. Like, it looks inviting. It looks delicious, and that gets them more likely to try things that they wouldn't try. We sold thousands and thousands of dollars of radishes a year, you guys, and it was like $3 a bunch. It was one of the cheapest things we had. Squash. We packaged our squash in the little handbags, but I harvested my squash at 4 to 6 inches and called them courgette, which is French for baby squash. And I got $4 a bag for that, and the guy next to me was taking home every week his full-size squash that he was selling for $1.99 a pound. And I never went home with squash, hardly ever. So it's a lot of those things that putting those in front of people and answering the questions like, what's a courgette? It just means baby squash. I mean, it's kind of making things unique, giving people, like she said, the answers. I used to fight with my husband about mixing colors of beets in one container. No, you can't do that. You're going to confuse people because they're not going to. I'm like, I know. He's like, yeah, but not everybody's you. And so you have to think like a consumer.
And then I think this is important, and you can talk more about this, but
yes,
it doesn't all happen overnight, and this isn't even your final version of your booth. It was a little dark. The photo I had was a little dark, so I didn't put it in.
Okay.
But I can try to find one real quick. And so, she started out like this, right?
Actually, my first market booth, I had one of these round things, one of these round bushels with 22 bunches of radishes. I made $44 my first ever market. And that was 2018? I don't know, 2018, 19, I forget. And by the end, like I said, by the end of 2022, we were doing 6 figures a year. So, we did Scissortail Market, we did Norman Market. We had people every week that were lined up, and they knew to get there early because then, sometimes we had some pest issues our last year, so we didn't have as much lettuce mix as we had in the past. So they would get there and line up just to get whatever we had. And there were very few times we went home with much of anything.
Computer.
It's not your computer?
That was funny. I was like, why is this not working?
I'm trying to think what else.
And then,
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on
what I do wrong?
where you do the transactions, especially when you have high stuff?
Mm-hmm. So that's why we were, like in this setup, I don't know if you can see it, but we always left, like in this setup here, I think we had something, this was like our first year. This is when we moved to the Moore Market. And so we had, like he built a little box that kind of stood up. On this market here, he'd built, because for safety, he actually built, like this right here actually, had our cash box and our square in it behind it. So you can't, it's kind of blocked.
I watched you like literally will it out.
She showed
and it was already ready, and then she just put her stuff in there.
Get that one.
And she was like, it seemed to go smoother than the other farmers who were like hauling this.
No, you're good.
Like, this is an investment. This is something we knew.
He built this roller cart here. So this right here, so you can see I stood over to the side, and this was on casters as well. So I would be over to the side of it, and we had. This year we had 2 10 by 10 tents. We paid for 2 spaces. We didn't always use
and
it.
Everybody took
I
their
could
pictures
have
in
2
front
of these side by side
I
and still have kind of put myself at an angle. But there was
I
a
would
cash
always
drawer
want to take
built in under there,
pictures
and then
when people wanted to do interviews.
2 totes. This was
with
where
the
we kept
city.
all of our
They always did it in
supplies,
front of
our
her booth.
signage. And
I mean, it was just.
my husband is
it
the
was
organizational.
It was exactly
person.
what
I was
you
like.
like.
I'm
You
farmer.
like wake up in the morning. You're like, I want to
And
go to
the
the farmer's
face of the
market.
farm. He was the
and
reason we
her
were in
booth,
business.
I mean, Cassie, her booth's like that too. It's like It was.
Yeah, we did a lot of
you
branding.
met
Branding
that
was a big
dream
part. Like it was for a good
of,
time.
giving the
THYME, call the
the
Looney Farm.
customers what they wanted.
Was our
And again,
biggest
she
one.
told the
But
story
yeah,
too.
So
you got on her Instagram.
trying to come like because just like
she showed
when it's
her
vertical like
picture
that, you
with
can't
her
stand behind
headlamp
it. So we
picking
always
the-
had either
picking the
this,
product.
and we had a similar one to this when we had the white ones as well, just off to the side. Those on rollers.
2 to 11.
Have more than one person.
2022, from end of, or beginning of July to.
It was usually one, their very first time at Scissor when we built these new displays, I would bring an employee with me and she would have, she would use the square on her phone. And then if she needed the register, she would come over to the register box or the cash box and make cash or whatever. But for the most part, it was just me at the, or Joe at the other market at the register.
I'm gonna try to see if I can message that
Because of our
picture.
quality of our head lettuce is not as much, it was a little harder. I could sell the head lettuces to a chef.
It's really,
Is it dark?
Our box clamshells, if I show up at market, it's pouring down rain, nobody showed up.
I didn't see it.
I throw this back in the tote.
Can I message it to it? What's the-
They're back in the cooler because they were harvested early in the morning, went straight in the cooler and were rinsed and sanitized. Like, they came back to the next market, they were fine. I didn't lose produce because I didn't have market. I may have lost sales amounts for that week.
No, I texted it to her. Or email.
get it right fast.
And a
She
lot of
sent me
times
the
we
picture
work like
and then,
with collards at our market.
and
We had collards left over, I just go sell her those bunches of collards.
Like this one?
Something where, the lady across the way from us made.
yeah,
bread
that's the,
and
yeah.
Danishes
So how do I-
and our-
So just,
Here.
I'm gonna
Puree, I don't care if it's a little wilted.
email this to Deanna, or to,
If people can see it and
there
it looks
too.
nice, you're a lot more likely to sell it than
trying to think,
otherwise.
hold on. Let me see if she can.
And I did want to.
I can just walk around and be-
these, and you're welcome to take as many as you would like for produce cards. So we have lots of these.
No, we just sold,
Yeah,
we
feel free
didn't sell
to
the
grab a
farm.
stack.
Well, when we sold the property, we had already sold off all the farm equipment. We sold it off piece by piece. Rozicki Farms. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it, whether it was an option. It was just, we were kind of on a time crunch when we decided to actually sell the property. Rozicki Farms in Hara
It's just
Jones
so
bought all of our
important not
display.
to leave the customer.
I asked Joe if he would
confused, because if they're
consider
confused, they're
like
just gonna give
making
up.
the plans for those sellable. And he said he has the plans and he would sell them, but he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want to deal with answering all the questions that go
And I love
along
what
with
you said.
construction.
Joe's goal was like, I want someone to come in and not have to talk. And like, I mean, not that he did
Where are
want
you
to
going?
talk, but
Okay,
like,
here.
but he wanted to have everything where it was like just completely clear. What is this product? Where
Here,
is
what-
it from?
or this one,
Who
which
was
one?
the farmer? You know, everything was there so that he just was there to like smile and check them out.
I can just put it on the drive.
And if your stuff, I mean, I think.
So how do I share it? What am I doing? I have the photo.
You save the photo.
I had a guy.
Who do I send it to?
Oh, I got.
Oh, you got it? Oh, you got it. Okay.
So she wanted
But I won't. I don't even know his name, but he was like.
Trying to think what else we did.
Cilantro.
We did lots of mistakes. For a while we had we printed the labels, right? We had and they were like, we had the name of what the item was, and then we would put the variety, and then we would put like a description, and it was just like, so just the name. We learned very quickly. We printed everything and laminated it, so we had set cards to go with us, and both markets had the same, so we had those. But
Rarely, and in fact, I stood behind.
like there was a dollar sign and a whatever, however we marketed that, whether it was by the bunch or by the bag, and then it was for dry erase, so we could, or wet erase, I think, so we could adjust that if we needed to.
Your money back. Like,
There we go.
I promise you, you will. This lettuce mix will change you.
Yeah, so that's what they looked like. We had 4 of them at each market.
Close to our farm. Lettuce mix now.
Yeah, you're 2 in the background.
Yeah. So this is just 2, but you can see like he built it with these little notch outs, so we would have the slats like up here. So we could cut it in half. And actually, what even better than that, we could, a lot of times on the lettuces, as they would start to get like lower, because they would start out full, we could take one of those slats and put it at an angle against one of the horizontal slats on the back to angle it up, so that we could, again, keep things vertical and make it look more full.
They're a salad turnip. They don't taste like a purple top turnip.
This is my market pictures I check every Saturday at the very beginning of market to send out on story. So I have one for every week. But yeah, just bunching things up. Y'all, carrots, let me tell you, carrots. the beautiful carrots got bunched. Then what we did is we would take, I think they were 3 pounds each. Maybe they were, yeah, 3. And we called them carrot misfits. And they were just all the ugly, gross carrots. We topped them, threw them in a bag. Those things flew.
They sold so well.
So well, and it's like, so I never had to thin carrots. Because honestly, like even the teeny tiny ones, if I would bunch those up, I'd call a chef, and they love those teeny tiny carrots. So, and anything I can, feel
You
personally
grew some really pretty kohlrabi.
growing, $8 a pound to a chef that does. Just pull it out, rinse it. Like that was the best. I didn't do anything. The purslane just grew because it's a weed. So just trying to be opportunistic about stuff like that. But yeah, you can see we have the bags. Like again, my husband just, so you can see there's metal anchors there. That's the same thing with the shelves. They had slots that would just, those little L brackets. So the L brackets would click up on the bottom. We could put the shelf on top of it and then go from there. Everything like the little side pieces, he had a wall built in the back of the trailer that those slid behind, but there's just long bolts with wing nuts so we could wing those on really fast, because without these on a windy day, thank you guys. Now yeah. And if you ever had any questions, you can always reach out to me.
Awesome.
I'm at NRCS now, but I still answer farm questions too. Just don't ask me if I miss it.